Hello everyone and welcome to your Sunday night edition of the TII podcast. My name is Craig Dennett and I'm joined by Tommy McIntyre and JB for tonight's episode on a weekend when I think for the first time in a while our weekend's not been ruined by Rangers, which has everyone on this podcast smiling, as you can see. So it's a real positive start to this Sunday night podcast for the first time in a while. But Tommy McIntyre, how you doing?
Well, I think you've summed it up there. Rangers haven't spoiled it, so we can all be very, very positive about it. But yeah, missed the football, obviously.
Absolutely. We're also joined by JB, as I said, who's fresh off the back of a trip to Istanbul. How are you doing, JB?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm still in recovery mode and probably still in shock, to be honest, at the level of performance and results. But yeah, sure, we'll get into that as the pod goes on.
Yeah, we absolutely will. So we'll chat to JB especially a wee bit about Thursday night and his experiences in Istanbul. We'll chat over, I guess, the big news, if it can be called news at this stage, the big rumours, we'll say, around Steven Gerrard being of interest to the 49ers enterprise, who will potentially be taking over Rangers if the due diligence period goes to plan. We'll speak about the 49ers enterprise, the takeover, where we are with it as fans looking in the way, what we expect from it. Then we'll talk about just some of the other sort of news that's been coming out, some of the other comments. Václav Černy's agent has come out and spoken a bit about the likelihood of him staying next season, a few transfer rumours and stuff in there as well, looking ahead to the second leg of Fenerbahce. But JB, we were just chatting about the time difference to Istanbul and you were still recovering a wee bit, I think 3 hours you said, but how was the trip? What was it like being in Istanbul, especially given the result and everything like that?
Yeah, no, it was a really good trip. It was, for anyone that's been on these trips, they just know that every single one's just a complete different adventure. From the moment you get to the airport to the moment you get home, it's a little bit of everything. Normally a little bit of a whirlwind, a couple of beers. This one had a little bit of sunshine, which was nice as well. So yeah, no, it was good. I say it was Ramadan while we were there as well, so that was. We obviously had to be respectful of that, especially given the fact that I was actually staying with somebody. So I was staying with a local that my little brother knows, a cracking guy called Uga. So we've a family friend that we've known for a number of years. So he picked me up from the airport and looked after me for the few days, which was good. Wasn't great when he was waking me up at 3 o'clock for Ramadan breakfast, but it was great to be involved and get involved in the culture and the everything else that went on with that. So no, it was good. I had a trip into Istanbul match day morning. Done the Besiktas Stadium tour, which I know that a lot of Rangers fans did. A lot of BJK merchandise was being purchased en masse, which was quite comical. And then we went from there to the meeting point for the stadium. I was saying to you offline there, it was like getting put in prison buses. Not that I've been in one, despite the accent. So we were put in the buses, and then what should have been a 45 to 1 hour journey was like 2 hours. Apparently they just drove us around Istanbul to keep us away from the stadium, but you couldn't get off or on. You couldn't get off for any breaks, or there was no toilets and stuff, which brought its own challenges. And then we got to the ground. I think it was 2 hours before kickoff. The stadium facilities probably not 5-star. That'd be definitely an understatement. But Rangers fans were in good behaviour from everything I've seen. There was. Everyone was in good voice, and no, I haven't heard of any issues with police or any challenges with clashes with fans or anything. So it was it was good. And then obviously the match itself, cracking atmosphere. From both sets of fans, they proper go for it. You can see there was a few head cases in their crowd that just banged against the perspex for 90 minutes and tried to make it a little bit hostile. But I thought the players stood up to that really well. Every tackle, every throw was contested. Mourinho was being Mourinho on the side. Their coaching staff were out for claiming everything. Their players were all over claiming everything, but I think the players just looked straight through it, and couldn't have been any more proud of them, to be honest. Which we haven't said enough this year, unfortunately. But again, it's just it just fills the frustrations of, we know there's good players in there and we know there's a good team in there, but domestically we just haven't seen it, and it's killed us, hasn't it? So yeah, overall, really good trip. I was well looked after, and bring on the next one, hopefully.
Absolutely. We'll get into the second leg a wee bit towards the end of the podcast and how we're feeling at this stage going into it. But keen to point of comments coming in already around Steven Gerrard and his potential, or the rumour of potentially coming to Ibrox. So we'll get stuck into that straight away. Tommy, it was I think initially people clocked onto it from I think it was Suited and Booted, the suit company that posted a picture, or Steven Gerrard posted a picture, and there was an ambiguously named song along with it, and people kind of picked up on that as being, could Steven Gerrard be coming back? But then I think the Bleacher Report was one of the outlets that reported that actually 49ers Enterprise are interested in Steven Gerrard, as you can kind of understand why, I guess, if they're looking for a name, if they're looking for someone that knows the club. How would you view a Steven Gerrard return to Ibrox?
Well, it probably says something about me that I was listening to JB there and would happily have a conversation about, did you get out to the Topkapi Palace and the Theodosian walls and all that type of stuff in terms of Istanbul. But yeah, listen, I can understand that Steven Gerrard's still a name. He would be a name in the States as well, having been a global player and played out there. So it kind of suits that aspect of it from a branding perspective. He did win a title. You go in with your eyes wide open because his wider results weren't always great either. But yeah, I mean, I would take him back, actually. I would be my early doors shout on that one. But again, it very much depends on, what would the staff look like, and I don't think he's going to bring back Michael Beale or anything like that. So I think that would be an interesting one. But yeah, listen, it's good to be linked, but again, the 49ers might have a lot of other things up their sleeves too. But you can understand that he does tick a lot of boxes from that. Coming in, knows the club, etc., and would be able to land in pretty swiftly.
Why would it be a yes for you at the moment, Tommy?
Well, he's shown that he can win at Rangers. Somebody could easily come back to me and say, yeah, but he's also shown that he can lose. His results in the cups were pretty ropey. He did particularly, well in Europe. He won a league title. It comes with a level of gravitas, which I think this dressing room needs. And he would be able to get, a calibre of player to play for him. If nothing else, he seems to have that aura about him, which generates people going through the wall. So, yeah, and the fact, like I said, he knows the league, he knows the environment from a media perspective, he knows what he's walking into, he gets a lot of goodwill. So, yeah, I think in terms of trying a project again or taking a punt, you do it a lot worse than going back to somebody who's already won a title here.
Yeah, JB, before I come to you for your opinion, I'll just bring up some of the comments that are flying in already. Hugo Bayer saying SG's time has been and gone. Sonny saying no to Gerrard from me. He left us at first opportunity. Board let him down, granted, but people forget we were on a bad streak when he left. KW says, evening lads, bring Gerrard in. Pete Lawrence seems a bit exasperated by it all, saying Gerrard set for Ibrox. Seriously, Robert Robertson, no to Gerrard. Robert Binney, don't think it's a good idea to bring SG back. Where are you on Steven Gerrard and the potential of him coming back? I mean, even before Philippe Quant was sacked, people were saying that they wanted Steven Gerrard to come back, and people were kind of tracking where he was with the Saudi club and all that sort of stuff. So it does seem, amongst a portion of the support at least, that there's some appetite to see him back as manager of Rangers. But
sorry, I'll always take the opportunity. They were tracking where he was, but at least Steven Gerrard didn't turn up in the stands or was invited in whilst the Rangers manager was under pressure. You know me, I will never ever miss an opportunity to mention that stuff. So, sorry, back to your question, JB.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard's just been spotted in the grapes, basically on the west. But I'm torn on it, to be honest. I'm probably more against it than I am for it. Whether that's just because I want something a wee bit different and fresh. I can say we've had a lot of chat in our supporters club, the Willow Range supporters club WhatsApp today, in terms of pros and cons. So Tommy's point, knows the league. He's a figurehead. He likes expectation, and I don't think he'd shy away from it. I think Clement did shy away from it. I always thought, he always said, or this club wants to win and deserves to win. I never felt as if he meant it. It was almost a case of it was almost trying to play things down. If we win under Gerrard and we didn't play well, we knew about it. It was almost a case of, I felt at the time, what was going on in the changing rooms was a reflection of how we were feeling, because that's what Gerrard kind of portrayed back to us. Whereas Clement and Beale and Gio, we didn't have that connection. It almost felt as if they almost just treated us as if we were non-football people, and the fans just won't get it. I'll just palm the press off, won't give them anything too many big headlines. I'll just kind of just play the game with them. Whereas Gerrard, it felt a lot more raw, even though he's very well media trained. It felt as if, I remember there was a Dundee game, we were winning 5-0 at half time, and he came out and he was raging full time because it finished 5-1 or whatever it was. And it was almost a case of, yeah, that's the standard. And that, again, we shouldn't compare because it's not fair. But Stuart McCall tells a story about beating Hearts 2-0 away in one of his early games, and Walter had people up against the wall. And it was almost a case of, right, this is the level. Do you know what I mean? We're winning, and people still aren't happy at the club. So he gets that element. He done a hell of a rebuild. If you look at the 11 that finished the 5-5 game against Hibs, I think it was, wasn't it? Some of the characters that were in that team that he had to get out and then bring people in, he quite quickly brought in the right people. So your McGregors, your Stephen Davises, your Arfields. So he got that element that had to be done. Maybe a couple of them deals were already done, but he built something around that, and then he brought in some players that were under the radar. He brought in a lot of bad players as well. Let's not sit here and say every signing was a success. I think I read earlier he brought in 42 players with a spend of around 35 million. So he wasn't splashing the cash, but for every good signing that come in, there was a Grezda. Do you know what I mean? And Bacuna, and the list goes on and on. Big old quiz question if you can name all 42. But yeah, the passion was there. I say there was no scouting department in place at the time, or what it was bordering on pathetic. So could he get more with a better group of players? I actually think he was really unlucky at Aston Villa. So when he went there, he made two big signings in the summer. Was it Leon? Was it Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen, the lad who tore us apart? Yeah. He signed him, and I think he had a bad injury after 2 weeks of the season and completely missed them out, and did have a plague of injuries, which tends to follow Rangers people about. So I'm not too concerned about the Aston Villa piece and the Saudi stuff. I mean, who cares? Do you know what I mean? He's working with probably non-professional footballers over there, sprinkled with the odd Henderson, the lad from the Dundee centre half, forget his name, had a few Scotland caps, and who's the boy from the Dutch lad who played for Liverpool, can't think of his name, Ginny Wijnaldum. He had them players kind of scattered about. So, and the rest of them, I think, were mainly Saudis. So, I'm not worrying too much about that. The cons for me, the big bit was the way he left. Didn't like the statements and the way he patronised Emma Dodds, and then 2 weeks later he was out the door. That was sour. I don't blame Party. Doesn't blame him in hindsight because of the way he was treated by the board. We should have been back that summer going into the Champions League, and it was shown that we had no options against Malmo at home. Malmo down to 10 men. That he looked at the bench and there was nothing there to kind of take us to that next level. So I get that. The cons, again, he probably will want his own coaching staff, which I don't think we should be giving him. So I think the coaching staff should be kind of provided for him, because that should be the model now. We should be building our own staff. So you've got the Moroccan lad that's going to be in there. I would like, having signed a 3.5-year deal, so he needs to work with him. Potentially a few of the guys that are currently there at the moment. So unless it's going to be a full rebuild again off the pitch, which then brings its own challenges with the playing style and everything else that goes with it. So, but I would argue at the moment we haven't got a playing style, so he's probably coming into a blank canvas. It's not as if he's coming into something where you go, oh, we're a real possession-based team, or we're a real counter-attacking team. I don't think we've got a style. I think Clement over time kind of just beat any style out of us that we did have. That any momentum that we had, it was gone. So yeah, pros and cons. I'll probably 70-30 against it at the moment. But I'm still to see the other names that are going to be linked. Ask me in a few weeks when the betting odds slice a little bit on one or two.
Yeah, I saw Rafa Benitez's name thrown in there earlier in the week as well. But yeah, Tommy, would you expect? I guess Steven Gerrard. It seems to be pretty even split actually in the comments as to whether he should or should not come back. A lot of people talk about his playing style and the fact that it was really hard to watch a lot of the time, whereas others are saying, well, it got us to win the league, so why does that matter? I think there's arguments for both on that one, but in terms of Steven Gerrard coming back, having already been at the club, but then under new ownership who will want to make a statement with their first appointment, is actually appointing someone who's already been there a good move for them, do you think?
That's a very fair question. And just to add to JB as well, some of that not being backed by the board, well, some of that was on Gerrard as well. He could have moved on players at the prime, the Morelos, etc., and cashed in, but he wanted to keep them and get further investment as well. So there's some of that in there. And you're right, some of the football was hard to watch. Again, I've said I would take him. I'm not saying he has to be in, or I'd be disappointed if it's somebody else. I mean, I'm not that far gone into it. And you're right, a new management group coming in, they might want to put their absolute own stamp on it. I totally get that, which is somebody new and fresh. Quite frankly, I think by and large it doesn't matter who goes into the dugout. What's more important, or rather, more important would be what any new management group or the existing management group, if the deal doesn't progress the way we all expect, invest and get the right team in. There's only so much, as we've seen several managers, good managers, or managers with talent, trying to get the best out of this squad, given the lack of scouting, given the lack of investment. You're only dealing with a certain level of quality. So, yeah, the manager stuff can broadly look after itself. It's all about what does it look like when the checkbook gets opened.
Yeah, I think that's fair. JB, just in terms of Steven Gerrard and the appeal of having someone that has a big name in the game, especially we saw first time around how players were wanting to come to the club to play because it was him that basically convinced them to come to Scotland and times when they potentially wouldn't have come to play here. Is that a big deal for you? Tommy said there basically that it doesn't really matter who manages Rangers to an extent. It's more about the investment and the getting everything right off the pitch from that perspective. But do you agree with that? How important do you think the manager Rangers actually is in terms of getting us to where we need to be?
I think it's important whoever comes in understands the league. I think that's going to be super important because I think that's one thing that I'm not saying they had to have been in the league, but they need to understand it, which still baffles me to this day how Van Bronk never got it. Whether it was because he was part of successful teams and he maybe just thought, better players win games. I think we've probably moved on a little bit since then. Let's not forget some of these guys were running past the guys like Jim Fulton who play for Hearts, you know what I mean? 20 stone in the midfield. Whereas now every team we're coming up against, especially if you look at your St Mirrens and your Kilmarnocks, they're filled with 10 athletes. Do you know what I mean? So therefore we need to make sure that the manager that comes in gets that our players need to work harder than the opposition. They need to be better quality and they need to be built to be able to get through a season. Because I think we've wasted so much money and invested so much time and effort in players that just aren't fit for the league. So Robin Propper is probably your perfect example. I thought he actually had I'm not sure how long he played on Thursday. Was it 25, 30 minutes?
29 minutes, I think.
29 minutes. And he looked really good. He looked really comfortable and he could smell danger and he's brilliant in Europe. If we get put into a European league, I'd be happy to keep Propper, no danger. I'd roll him out on Thursday nights if we could. But domestically, he just looks absolutely all over the place. And okay, we haven't spent a lot of money on hit someone like that, but they're the type of ones, they're your tap-ins. Go and get a physical, dominant centre-half with a bit of pace and comfortable on the ball. Doesn't need to be Beckenbauer, but someone that is just comfortable on the ball. And so for us to get things like that so wrong, that's something that I think needs to be addressed really quickly. Which just shocks me that someone like Clement, could go through the summer and having played centre half and not gone, no, you know what, we need a dominating centre half. But it might just be a sign as to where the club is. We went put all our eggs in one basket for the centre half that ended up at Norwich. Was it Cordova, wasn't it? And he was a 6'5" set ball winning centre half, and we ended up with Robin Proper. So what was the profile? What was the remit? How did we get from him to him in such a short space of time? Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's seen the Plymouth highlights. I think that'll probably give me enough from not to be rushing after Nico Katic anytime soon. The big fella was a bomb scared at the weekend. So, yeah, it's whoever. Back to the original question. Whoever comes in needs to be somebody that is going to build a team that can compete in the league first and foremost. The fans,
just on that,
the fans
sorry,
will
just
get
to be really clear. Sorry, apologies, JB. Just to be really clear, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter who's in the dugout. By the way, just be really clear about that, Craig, before you get me clipped and shared on social media. Right, that's definitely not what I'm saying.
Yeah. Sorry, they can just ignore that wee bit and just take the first.
Oh, that's it. They've got me. Yeah, they've got me.
Billy Dodds is polishing his brown brogues. He's all in.
Tommy, JB's kind of spoken more about the profile of manager that he would like to see in terms of their style, in terms of their approach. We do seem to have been in a cycle where we've had managers who excel in Europe but struggle domestically. How do we overcome that, do you think?
Well, I think it's the profile of manager, philosophy, profile of the players that we've had. And, you could argue that, depends how wide an answer you want, right? You could argue that it's the style of play that we've tried to stick with, broadly with the managers and broadly with the team, that kind of ball dominating, but we've lacked the creativity at the top end against teams that, do play a little bit tighter. I'm not entirely sure a lot of Scottish teams park the bus against us too much. Actually, they smell blood and they come after us, right? But so maybe it's a pressure thing. Maybe it's the fact that they just defend more robustly, all that type of stuff. In Europe, we tend to be the underdogs, and then we can hit teams on the break or whatever. So yeah, there's all of those things are in the mix. Ultimately, I think it comes back to probably the two most important things, which is the leveling. I'm going to make it three things here, but see if anybody's watching me. The leveling quality of the player that you've got in the team, and then the style of play that the manager's trying to implement. And we seem to have consistently tried to do something that wasn't working domestically. And it's, season after season. So, yeah, there has to be, back to the earlier conversation, somebody coming in who's pragmatic, right? And we'll say, and again, fans need to take this. I don't care if it's not free-flowing football domestically. I'll be top of the league. Fill your boots. You can get the free-flowing stuff at a certain point in time. And so that's what we need. We just need to be difficult to beat and beat teams who are difficult to break down. Those two things we've struggled with.
Yeah. JB, Tommy used the word pragmatic there, and that was how Jose Mourinho described Barry Ferguson and how he expected his approach to be. Do you actually think that was the difference in a game like Thursday night in terms of playing to one, the strengths of the players that we had, but also playing tailoring the style to the opposition that we're playing? Is that more the kind of manager we need than we seem to have had a manager that plays a certain style no matter who they're playing against for the last few managers, and it doesn't seem to work in that way?
Yeah, no, I think it's horses for courses, isn't it? I think in terms of, and that was one thing Walter was brilliant at, like in terms of you think of the European run 2008, he knew that we didn't have players that could go and outplay football against some of the really good teams that we come up against. He knew that we had to have battlers in there. I remember we went to Werder Bremen away, and we knew we were going to be under the cosh from the first minute. I remember being in the stadium that night and going, "This is going to be tough." And you seen the team come out, and you thought, "Oof, there's not a lot of legs, there's not a lot of pace in there, but there was a hell of a lot of people who put their life on the line for you." So I think there was that, and then you think back to, I always remember, I'm showing me age here. Was it 99 when we went away to Monaco and two guy played centre half? I've got that right. there's times where you just do need to mix it up, and fair play to Ferguson. Thursday night was one of them moments. That I think that Rangers fans will remember for a long time, probably be talking about in 20 years' time. That time where we actually tweaked the tactic to make sure we done the job that we needed to. I think potentially there was a fear on Thursday that how the last 15 minutes was how Fenerbahce were going to start, because the last 15 minutes were wild in terms of it was just attack after attack after attack. Now, thankfully, we picked them off in one of them. I don't know where Czerny's been saving that pace since Christmas, but he didn't half get away. He moved, he motored. But again, it was almost a case of he knew what we needed to do, and I thought his substitutions were bang on at the right time as well for what we needed. Just a little bit more freshness. Sterling coming on because you could see St. Maximin was having too much joy against Ridvan. So little things like that really please me, because I'm not saying we want a fan in there, but sometimes the fans en masse can see things and you go, why hasn't he changed it? Why hasn't he changed it? Why hasn't he changed it? Well, you know what? Ferguson actually done everything like a fan probably would have done on Thursday night. I think even when the team come out, it wasn't almost a case of we're going 5 at the back here. What's he doing? Do you know what I mean? It was almost a case of can see why he's done that. Let's make ourselves hard to beat, and that's what we were. I mean, at no point did we look outnumbered. At no point, the only criticism I had on Thursday night was probably just a wee bit of lack of composure in the second half. But that probably points to the players that we were bringing on. Do you know what I mean? The likes of Tom Lawrence and stuff, they've got to come on and take you to the next level, are they? We couldn't bring anyone that was going to run away from someone, which it just makes Thursday all the more intriguing in terms of how he approaches it. And I know there'll be a pod on Wednesday where we'll go into a bit more depth, but I'm really looking forward to me and my dad were talking today. Does he go like for like and try and have a similar type performance, knowing that every tackle, every throw in, every free kick, corner is going to have 50,000 of us vocally behind it. I'm probably quite patient at 0-0, but then it's the fear of if we go 1-0 down, Ibrox mightn't be the best place to be on Thursday. So it's it's intriguing, but yeah, a manager who will set us up for the occasion, and just win. That's it. To Tommy's point, just win games of football, and we'll be all right. And I think Rangers fans are realistic as well. And what I mean by that is if we were going to a title race even next season, and we can see that we're beating everyone, but you know what? We don't have the rub of the green against them on the big games. Then you kind of go, well, that's the gap we need to close. But at the moment, I feel that, to Tommy's point, teams are rocking up against us and going probably disappointed if they're not beating us. And when we do draw and when we do get beat, we deserve to get beat. And when we do win, at times we probably didn't deserve the win. So we need a massive shift on that quite quickly. We need momentum, and we need the momentum to start from that first whistle of pre-season. Needs to be massive, because there was no momentum at that first whistle of pre-season this year. It was a farce. I think it was the first game in a public park against Ajax. And it just almost felt as if, it just doesn't feel right. I don't think anyone had a vibe going into the season. Hoffenheim, I think Sam Lammers actually looked like a player. And it was last season, wasn't it? Oh, no,
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah,
no,
it was the season before. Was the season before? It's all merging into one. But yeah, that's kind of how bad it's been. Do you know what I mean? So, it's wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously with the new manager, we're all expecting, if he's not announced prior to the end of the season, that the first day after the season finishes, that there should be a new manager announced, and they have the full run of the full summer to get their feet under the table, to shape the team, shape the squad, get sorted into the club and get used to everything around the club as soon as they can. Around that, I guess timing wise, they may be looking at a month, 6 weeks until you start hearing serious rumours around who's going to be a new manager, and obviously that depends on when the takeover goes through, assuming that the due diligence happens. But from what reports have said, and it's going to be sort of late April, early May seems to be the sort of time frame for that at this moment in time. Tommy, if you're 49ers Enterprises and you're at the due diligence stage, you already have plans in place, and you already be looking ahead, not to just next season, but to 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, and you'll have start putting all those building blocks in place. Where do you think they'll start? We're all assuming they'll start with the manager, but is that where you think the team and the first team will be where they start, or do you reckon? And do you think that's why this all-round football department review is happening now?
Yeah, well, the company that's doing that has ties to the 49ers already, so it's no great surprise that they were chosen. And to your due diligence point, they're getting all that feedback and seeing everything. They need to, because we don't have a full-time manager, right, for the men's team, and it is the engine room of the club. So if you want to do what I'm sure the 49ers want to, which is have a long-term perspective, because you don't buy this type of deal isn't to flip it, so to speak. So if you're coming in and what you want to do is you want to, for a relative low spend compared to others, in terms of the EPL, etc., get yourself back into the Champions League, win the title, Champions League, then work on the marketing side and the commercials and all that type of good stuff. You got to have a successful team. It's that simple, right? So they're going to have to invest in there. And again, that comes back to how are we using data analytics? Are we front foot on that stuff? Are we at the elite level in terms of our analysis or scouting department? What does that mean budgetary, wise, in terms of can we go after bigger players? What is the refresh and reset of the squad going to look like? We've moved into this, the structure is supposed to be buy relatively young, develop, sell on. Great model if you're successful at it. We've still to prove that we can do that to a large degree. So yeah, back to your point, the initial one has to be at the top of the list, sort out the men's team. And by that, it is this squad properly. So invest in it in the immediate moment. Get your manager in place, get your director of football, all that type of good stuff. Get your behind the scenes stuff working. Everything after that is, subject to credibility on the pitch and success in the trophy room. Aye, that's got to be it. And then they'll break into other markets and see what they can do in the Far East, etc., and any other sort of deals. But it starts with winning games of football.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. JB, I think we were hearing from lots of Celtic bloggers and stuff like that it was nowhere near where it was, and then 2 hours later it came out that we'd been agreed in principle and it was entered a due diligence period. I guess to us laymen, that it seems like it's pretty close. It's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's effectively. Tommy might think differently with given his experience, but to us laymen, it's that's what it feels like.
This is the most exciting part. when I'd sit and talk about this forever, you know what I mean? But I will save everybody the hassle of that.
But how are you feeling as a fan at this stage about the takeover? I guess it feels different to just a rich person coming in with lots of money and trying to make it their own. It feels like there's real power and organisation and I guess organisation behind it as well. How do you feel about it at this stage? Is it something that excites you?
Yeah, I don't think you can help but not be excited, to be honest. I think it's going to be different. I think people just need to get their head around that as well. I don't think it's going to be the fans aren't going to get every single thing that we want out of this. Do you know what I mean? There could be documentaries, behind the scene documentaries, Amazon type stuff to follow all of this. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll know there's a brand there, and that's what these guys are very good at. They're in the entertainment business, not just the football, the sports business. So these will be looking to try and get as much money out of us as they can. Now, the positive I take from that is the only way they can do that is by us being successful. Now, I've got this bit of a hope that they're seeing these. It was great to see that there was more people again at the match on Thursday at Fenerbahce. So a couple of the big hitters that are involved in the 49ers were actually in the stands. Seeing stuff like that, and again, they were at Old Trafford as well. So do you think about it? If you're a potential buyer and you're seeing this club from Scotland and they're going to Old Trafford and they're competing against one of the who is seen as still as one of the biggest teams, 3 biggest teams in the world, You go, oh, there's something there. We drew with Tottenham at home, albeit these two teams are going through a bit of bad form. But you go, wow, this is potentially an opportunity to print money. Now, in my eyes, if the big positive I want from this is it's early enough that these guys have got to be saying to us, we've got to hit this ground running, start the next season. This isn't going to be a 2, 3, 4, 5 year project, and then we'll kind of go then like they've done with Leeds. I think they're going to want to come in from day one, and the aim has got to be to get us into that Champions League by the qualifiers. It's got to be, we've got to be ready for that, because if you're an investor coming in, I think it's almost a case of what a quick win that is to have 40 million guaranteed just like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the current investors have kind of took us as far as they could, and we've kind of just looked over the fence. Just had a picture of Clement then in pre-season looking through a fence. But we've been kind of looking over the fence, haven't we, at the Champions League, going, oh, it's just there. We're not actually that far away. We should have beat Kiev at home. We should have beat Malmo a couple of seasons ago. And these are the things that have held us back from just getting over that fence. So if they can come in and get us going from day one, then I think it's going to be within their best interest, because they can make a quick buck quickly, because next season's champions don't guarantee Champions League football. So almost a case of, if you're not going to put all your eggs in one basket, that a league win next year is going to guarantee you that big money. Both teams are going to have to go through qualifiers next year. So this year is that first chance that they could go, right, 2 qualifiers. This team have proved some of the results that they've had this season that they're there, albeit we know there's still a hell of a lot of work to be done, and someone like Czerny, who I know we're going to get to in a second, probably won't be there next season. So there's a few bits along the journey, but no, I think it'll be really good. As I say, there's going to be, I think Tommy touched on earlier, it'll open up commercial relationships. It'll open up scouting. There might be a player that's identified that's not right for Leeds, but you know what? He'll do a job up the road. In terms of, again, I don't know how it works, but say Iggerman, for example, I'd rather he went to Leeds for 30 million than went to Everton or Tottenham for 30 million. Do you know what I mean? Because it's almost a case of there's that money that's buying in, and probably on terms that suits both clubs. So there's going to be, it's going to be wild. I think we're just going to have to buckle up for it. And I say they're not going to get everything right from the first minute. If that was the case, they'd have already bought a number of clubs around Europe. So I think we just need to be excited, but we almost need to be level-headed as well. There might be naming of stadium rights, things that we just are alien to us at the moment, that we go, whoa, you can't do that. But by all accounts, they're a massive fan of tradition, hence why we've been targeted, similar to Leeds. So I watched a good interview this morning with a business partner of Pragmatism. So it seems as if he's all in, which that is definitely something that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something there that I listened to a BBC podcast actually during the week, and it was an awful podcast. I wouldn't recommend anyone listen to it, but it spoke about, we basically tried to break down why would the 49ers Enterprises be interested in Rangers, and what would be appealing about Rangers versus another club, and would they be a feeder club to Leeds, etc., etc. But one of the things that they kind of pulled out, Tommy, was that, I guess, that international appeal, and JB spoke about the documentary style thing, the Amazon style documentary or whatever. From what everyone that I've listened to has kind of said, is that that's something that they'd be interested in and would kind of be on the cards. Is that almost too much of a circus around the club, or how do you feel about something like that if that was to come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive. I'm a fan of behind the scenes documentaries when it's not my club. Right, it's probably the same. I'm a fan of penalty shootouts when it's not my club. Right, type of scenario, right. So, but it's part and parcel of it now. And if you're getting the investment and you want the club to progress, then you're going to have to take some poison pills as well, things that you don't naturally like. JB's laying that out. They like their history and they like that type of thing, but they also want to do new things, and they'll treat us as consumers as well. I mean, there's definitely an appetite for it. Just look at this, podcasts, etc., with fans. Everybody's involved in it. Please do remember to subscribe and hit the notification button, obviously. So there's always that type of thing. If it's part and parcel of the deal, it's bringing in income, it's growing the brand, to people who wouldn't have been natural, Rangers supporters, people in distant, far-flung parts of the globe, who then get on board with the Rangers support, then I'm all for it, right? But again, there'll be things that will happen that we don't naturally like. The greater thing and the greater good is Rangers getting back on top. And there's a fair amount of stuff that I don't like that I can find palatable if the end point is Rangers holding aloft the league title and doing what they should, which is winning the majority of things that they enter.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting how this pans out. I think we're all kind of having a look out, just keeping a close eye on it to see what each next step is. On that same podcast, they'd said that they'd spoken to someone that was high up within Celtic who said they were watching closely what was happening. So it seems that suggests that they're a wee bit worried about it as well.
So just on that, I mean, it's a proper takeover with a group who aren't fly-by-night. We've had a fair amount of charlatans wander through our boardroom in the modern kind of period. This is a proper group structure with lots of capital behind it, who have got consistency and strategy and success, right? And the ability to open doors that Scottish clubs don't even approach. So it really is a game changer if it happens and pushes us forward. Yeah, they'll still have to play within the parameters of FFP and all that good stuff. But if I was sitting in rival boardrooms, I would also be going, this is new. This is a different level. And how do they match up to the challenge that Rangers will evidently bring and the 49ers group will evidently bring? So, yeah, people should not be resting on their laurels. If it goes through and we all expect it to, then I think the foot goes to the floor much more than it has in any other way previously. And that's a good thing.
JB, for me, quite a bit of the excitement comes from the fact that their motivation will be showcasing Rangers at the top level in Europe, seeing us play against the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc. And to get there, they need to be successful domestically to then be able to, unless they're very lucky in terms of our draw or how we play in those qualifiers. But we've known for however many years now that qualifiers are an absolute lottery. You don't know what kind of team you're going to come up against. You don't know what kind of team we're going to turn up with. All of that sort of stuff. So what really excites me about it is that motivation that they'll have to just drive consistent success to get what they want. Is that part of the excitement for you as well?
Yeah, 100%. As I said earlier, this only works. They're not coming in as sugar daddies and just looking to splash cash. They're coming in to make money. And the only way they can make money is by having a successful team on the pitch. Whereas the current board that we've got, they want us to do well. I well and truly do believe that. But they've reached the ceiling in terms of what they can do to get us over to use the phrase there, to get us over that fence. They just haven't got the manpower, the skill set, the experience that these guys have got, both from a football side and a commercial side. So, yeah, it's got to be success. It's just it has to be that from the first minute in order for it to work for them. They're not coming in here to be with us for the next 10, 15, 20 years. They're coming in to try and get us back to a model where there's money in the bank, and then recycle, and then or potentially get more teams. But again, they won't get more teams if they don't see us as a success. So I think it's win-win in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's obviously the benefit of shared resources that come with the multi-club model. And there's a lot of people that are against that as a principle. From my perspective, I'm against some approaches to it. I'm not against other approaches to it. It's very much down to the detail as to how they do it. In terms of, I know some people were talking about beforehand as potentially being a feeder club, and that was thrown out the way by is it Pragmatism? It was kind of just dismissed instantly, and that's not how they want to work. And that I meant I bought in more to it as an idea from that way. But there's also we're coming up to football never stops, right? And we're also got a squad that we know that needs to be turned over. We've got a hell of a lot of changes that we think need to take place. one of the ones that kind of came out this week was Václav Černy's agent. There's been a lot of discussion around whether people would like to keep Václav Černy or not. We spoke, I think, on Thursday night after the game, Tommy, around, yes, we'd love to keep him, but at the right price. Václav Černy's agent came out and said that it's not realistic for him to stay at Rangers next season. There's already been interest from clubs in France and Italy for next season. He's also on loan from Wolfsburg, effectively saying there's no way Rangers could afford to keep him, I think was effectively what he was saying. What did you make of that, Tommy? And is it one of those ones where we just need to hold our hands up, say thanks very much for all your goals and assists and see you later?
Yeah, he's good and I like Černy, but if the budget is significantly increased because we've got 49ers money, so to speak, then we might be shopping in better markets. I mean, ultimately he's had a bit of a decent season, but there's been some terrible performances in there as well from Václav Černy, right? But I do like him, don't get me wrong. It could also just be the agent doing a bit of, I think there is going to be money kicking about Ibrox, and I want to make sure that my boy gets his slice here. And so getting in early, we'd have to try to drive the best price, and that's his job. So fill your boots. But ultimately, if that statement has been made with the knowledge of the player, and the player is saying behind the scenes, this has been a great adventure and I've loved it, but I don't want to be here. It's not the club for me. Well, best of luck. Right, we don't need you here. We don't want you here. If it's a case of they're just positioning themselves for the best negotiating tactic, and Wolfsburg are happy to do a deal at a decent price point, then you bring them in. But again, it's all subject to the rules of new manager might not want him either. Might be looking at it and going, you're not going to suit my style of play. I want to do something totally different. I want to upgrade that position, whatever. So, I think everybody will be positioning themselves in the agent market as they look at Rangers and they go, oh, did I read that you're getting taken over? Because the first thing that happens with that is the checkbook comes out. So all the agents will be on the phone, all the agencies, all the players will be getting tapped to say, right, how do we get the best deal for you? So I expect more of that between now and the end of the season, I'd suspect.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and go back to our previous topic, and I'll come back to Václav Černy in a bit. But lots of people...
Well, you need to stick to the agenda.
I'm in charge, Tommy, so it's fine. I'm in charge. Let's jump back a wee bit, just because there's been so many comments around it, and I've not been tracking them all, but I've seen them all. Lots of people talking about the 49ers enterprises and the fact that they would like to see them invest in expanding Ibrox. JB, I see you nodding your head there. What's your view on that? Firstly, just as a concept, and secondly, realistically, how it could be done.
Yeah, well, for me, it's not a priority. Let's get the pitch done first. Let's get a successful team on the path. But touched on earlier, these guys are coming in to make money. They'll make money with more bums on seats. So yeah, it can be done, can't it? There's plenty of space around the ground that could be filled in. Again, mightn't be popular. You could fill corners in. You can take the screens away, which I think are pretty pointless, to be honest. They could be removed and seats could go in there. So there's the work that we done in the Copeland could probably be done in the Broomland, for example, albeit let's try not do it in August and September. But there's plenty of scope to do that. And again, we're going to see a bit of a turnover in things. We're going to see American football matches getting played at Ibrox. There's going to be things that are going to happen, as we've said a couple of times, that are just alien to us. Edmondson House, they'll do stuff with that. Again, we can see little bits and bobs getting done at Edmondson House now, but you might see that might go to the next level. I mean, why we built? I'm not going to go on a rant about Edmondson House. We'll save that for another pod. But I just think that's it's a bit of a vanity project, and whoever's designed it should be shot. Do you know, like in terms of we've got a small space that we still have our Player of the Year events external. AGMs we probably don't have in there, and the club shops is I think is just the same size as the last one. So I don't feel as if that has been built to its full potential. But anyway, that's another story. But these guys are going to come in and they're going to get as much money as they can out of this club as possible. Keep saying it, but that's what they'll do, and the only way they can do that, the one thing they've got a customer there. Do you know what I mean? So if they were to build a fan park somewhere within the vicinity, say for example, it was on the AstroTurf next to the ground, just use that as an example for locality. But if they built something there and they said, right, it's going to be like an American football, there's going to be singers on, there's going to be food stations, beer, most importantly, and then all of a sudden, then you're going to have 10, 15, 20,000 fans using some sort of facility like that pre-match. And the amount of revenue that pumps back into the club is it's just going to be a cycle. So, yeah, exciting if we can do something. But that would be number 3 and 4 on the list for me. Number 1 and 2 has got to be the what is on the pitch, because I think we focused a little bit too much on other things in years gone by. Albeit we'll see the long term benefit, but we need to start winning. We need to start winning shit now.
Just on that, just before we speak about Ibrox again, and maybe not one for the people listening to this on audio only, but I'm looking at the comments here of our watchers. Maze, who says, I'm back, missed a lot of the interaction because my aunt phoned. How important was that call, and what was being discussed? Is she part of the takeover, Maze, is what I want to know. But do give your aunt our best as well. It just caught my eye. I couldn't walk past it.
I did see it as well. I was going to let it go.
Definitely not the thing I can let go. I definitely need to understand what's in there.
I assume if Maze is back, then his aunt is no longer on the phone, and therefore cannot be given our best. So, back to talking about Ibrox, though, Tommy. It's something that's been discussed and mooted for however many years now. I don't know. We saw the bad side of it this year. Still can't believe it was this year that we were playing at Hampden, to be fair. It feels like a lifetime ago, but we saw the bad side of it, and the disruption and the disadvantages of not being able to play it at home at Ibrox from the get-go. Is it something that people or fans might approach with more trepidation, I guess, now than the potential would have done beforehand?
Yeah, but possibly. I mean, I think it depends. For all the variations that we're going through there in terms of bringing in money, I'm with JB. It's not the top tier thing at this point in time. Sort out the team, right? But I'm no structural engineer, so I'm not going to pretend that I could work through all of that stuff. But my understanding was that there's only so much that can be done with Ibrox. Remember, in the front end's obviously a listed building. The problem with Ibrox in so much is it's the infrastructure round about it. The travel network to get in and out is horrendous, right? Glasgow City Council, thanks very much for all your support, right? So if you're going to do a big jump, then you would come away from it completely. You want to revamp it, right?
Because do you think people would accept that? Would you accept that?
No, Ibrox is the beating heart of Rangers, and so it would be a hard one. But again, you're looking at, I've just said previously, you're going to have to accept things that might not be palatable. If somebody's turning around saying we're going to build an all-seater, brand new stadium that's going to bring us into the modern age and increases the seating footprint by 10,000, which we can easily then sort. What do you want to do? And then you keep you redevelop Ibrox's flats, etc. You keep the front end, you house the museum in there, and it's all slightly different. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves ever so slightly. I think there's only so much that can be done in that area, especially because it's residential. So yeah, but I'm with JB. If it was cheap enough, rip down the boards. I think I'm dating myself here when I say jumbotrons. Right, that's one from the past there, right? But I take them down, fill in the corners, do what you ever can. But I don't think you can do lots and lots and lots. I just saw somebody saying beanbags. I remember when Ibrox used to do beanbags as well. But sort out the team. People will come, build it, all that kind of good stuff, field of dreams. But right now, it's not something I'm worrying about.
Yeah, JB, I'm getting lost a bit in this discussion, but just because your brother's a big sort of Everton fan and Everton follower, and they're in the process of moving to a brand new stadium. I've seen a lot of people on social media saying it's a bit soulless and it looks like a generic Bundesliga stadium in terms of the new one. But what's the reaction of Everton fans been like to that move from a historic, a place that's been a historic home for them for so long?
Yeah. For us to talk about this today, it's split camps, and what I mean by that, anybody over the age of 40 is heartbroken. anybody under the age of 40 has only seen heartbreak in that stadium and relegation battles and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So probably coming at it from a different angle from us, in the fact that we have been success. Now, unfortunately, the last 10 years, we've been starved of that, and we're hurting as a result. Whereas your Everton fans, your Tottenham fans, who've obviously gone through the big stadium changes, your Arsenal fans to a lesser extent, these guys have had periods of success, but not so much recently. So therefore, a lot of fans, you're hearing things like "can't wait to get out of there." Do you know what I mean? Because of that element of it's just filled full of bad memories, however sprinkled with the odd great one. In terms of the stadium itself, they had a test event there a few weeks ago, and I'm hoping to go myself in a couple of weeks just to have a nosy round. And it's out of this world, to quote some of the people, and in it that they're like, it's that steep. That the atmosphere is going to be amazing. It's been built as a stadium for atmosphere to the point it hasn't been built like a Bundesliga set. There's been loads of clever little things that have been built into the stadium. Apparently so much money got put into the acoustics and stuff. So it's I think it'll be grand. But yeah, like Tommy, I'm not even thinking about that then at the moment. I'm more worried about when Mbappe's signing rather than whether we're moving from Ibrox. So that's a joke, obviously.
That's fair. Going back to the Václav Černý chat, it does look like he's not going to be staying for next year. But I guess we've seen he's been the first winger that we've had at Ibrox that has seriously contributed from a goals and assists perspective for I don't know how long. I think he's surpassed the Daniel Candeias comparison. I think the first one to do so in quite a while. Is he one you'd be sad to see go, JB?
Yes and no. Similar to Tommy, I think he frustrates the life out of us at times. He's actually not a very good passer of a ball in terms of like short period spaces. You know, like other than Danilo, who's the only one he seems to be able to give and go with. He gives hell of a lot of possession away in a team that should be dominating the ball a lot more. But that said, if we're not going to get the finished product at Ibrox, we're going to have a player that is going to have flaws. Now, if we're going to have a guy that's going to have, I don't know what he must be sitting on now, he must be sitting on 25 to 30 goal contributions this season. We can't turn our nose up at that. I know there was people that wanted rid of Tillman, who delivered numbers. There was people wanted rid of Sholak, who delivered numbers. I dare say the Zambian Prince delivered decent numbers. So, and then so you go through, and as time goes on, Seema was good for numbers, obviously, other than availability. So all of these guys, at some point, we've got to keep hold of our guys who are putting the ball in the back of the net, which then gets you on to Cyril Dessa's conversation.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you.
But that's the next thing, because we need to keep Cyril Dessers at the club, in my opinion, but he can't be the Rangers starting number 9. He needs to be someone that contributes to our success, not someone we're pinning our success hopes on, because he's not that guy. So it's a case of finding a balance. And again, to Tommy's point earlier, the new manager is going to have his own playing style. He might want to play 3-5-2. Do you know what I mean? He might want to do something he might want the fullbacks to be getting forward more. So whoever comes in is going to have that reign and will have the say. But in terms of Černý and the contributions that he's given us this season, I think has been really good. But again, his agent wouldn't be his agent if he wasn't trying to find him a top 5 league. So yeah, he's it'll be an interesting one. He's going to be one of these guys that we're going to need to kind of say he's going to go against the model that we're looking at. Because if we bring him in for 5 million, we're probably not going to get 5 million back for him. But you know what? We might get 5 million's worth of goals and assists out of him, which for me at the moment where we are is just as important. So yeah, it's a balance with him. But yeah, no, he's given us some great memories. That's for certain.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just approaching the hour mark on the podcast. So just to close us off, I'll get both your opinion as we head towards the second leg of the tie against Fenerbahce. Jose Mourinho said he was actually happy with the result because it wasn't as bad as it could have been. He also said his message to Rangers was don't celebrate too much because the tie is not over. Tommy, how are you feeling as we head towards this second leg with a 2-goal advantage? JB mentioned earlier if Fenerbahce were to go 1-0 up fairly early doors, then it gets a bit nervy. But at this stage, how are you feeling as we head into it?
Yeah, which they're capable of doing. They made chances in Turkey as well, and they weren't absolutely toothless. But positive, I think it'll be a draw in the night, and we'll go through in the tie. It's still got that Mourinho magic, so you never know what's going to happen, right? And he's box office, isn't he? But no, I think we'll put ourselves in a great position. I think you're absolutely right. Everybody just needs to be focused. Don't give them anything early. Get the crowd right behind the team. Make it difficult for them, and then we'll see where we get to. But yeah, I'm pretty positive actually. I think we'll go through.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I think we just need one goal on Thursday night, and I think that just secures everything for us. But JB, was there anything that you saw on Thursday night out in Istanbul that gave you a bit of fear about Fenerbahce if they were to come good, I guess? Jose Mourinho mentioned that Fred, for example, it was a player that was missing on Thursday night, but he's been the heartbeat of their success so far this season, and he'll be back playing on Thursday. Was there anything that you kind of got the sense of, actually, there's still danger in this tie?
Yeah, no, I think they were. I almost felt as if they were playing in second gear for quite a lot of the game, and when they needed to switch it on, they switched it on. You could see the boy that come off the bench was Talisca, I think his name was, the Brazilian lad. He looked a level above. He looked like I remember the first time I seen Yaya Toure play, and you go, "Who's this fella here? He's bigger, he's quicker, he's stronger than everyone, and he can strike a ball." So there's definitely quality in there. Speaking to the lad who was staying with in Istanbul, he was saying Fred is our main man. He's our player of the season. Without him, we're no good. So that'll be interesting to see how we combat that. So we'll have to probably have a game plan for him. It's probably not the Fred that was at Manchester United. Do you know what I mean? Because I think anyone that goes there is just a career suicide, isn't it? So we probably find you're going to see somebody a little bit special there that we probably haven't seen. But that said, we've got really good players as well. I think we've got. We shouldn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We've got guys that kind of know what it's about on the European scene. I thought Sterling coming in on Thursday was just, he matched the physicality that we needed at the time and the point. So it's going to be. I'm really intrigued and I'm really looking forward to it. Normally I go into these games with a little bit of fear, but I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. And I approach these European games as a free hit, and you kind of just take the benefits that you get. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and a bit of luck on the night, and we'll be through to the next round. So.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar to you in terms of I normally approach them as a free hit, but given the result on Thursday night, I'm not sure I can approach this week as a free hit. I think I have a bit of expectation in there, to be honest, that we at least get through the tie.
Let's have a pen after 10 minutes to settle the nerves. We'll be all right.
Yeah, he's not been as good at those this year, has he? So
no.
we'll leave that one there. So thank you very much to Tommy and JB for joining us tonight. Thank you very much for everyone in the comments, everyone that's been listening. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please do drop a like. Please do subscribe to the TII YouTube channel or wherever you get your audio podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Helps us massively and means you don't miss out on any of the good content coming up. Kyle and the guys will be back on Wednesday night doing a proper preview to the Fenerbahce game, and then it'll be Kyle and Ross who are at the Ibrox for us on Thursday night for the Fenerbahce game, so watch out for their immediate match reaction as well. But thank you very much everyone for listening. Till next time. Goodbye.